He found the receipt by accident, but he didn't confront her. He documented, waited, let her think she was safe. Until one night, at her favorite hotel, he knocked on the door. And when she opened it, she wasn't just caught, she was destroyed. This isn't just a story of infidelity. It's a story of revenge so cold, so calculated, it left her begging for mercy. Before we begin, please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. The receipt was small, thin, the kind that slips between jacket lining and goes unnoticed until it doesn't. Caleb Hartman wasn't snooping. He was trying to be helpful. His wife had been sniffling all week, so when she asked for tissues, he reached into the inside pocket of her tan trench coat, the one draped over the armrest like always. But instead of Kleenex, his fingers brushed against something stiff. A hotel receipt, room service, 2 glasses of Dom Perignon, chocolate-covered strawberries, 2 bathrobes, room 612, total $274.28. Date, Wednesday. Time, 8:12 p.m. That same Wednesday, Samantha had called him late from the new client dinner downtown. The same dinner she claimed had run past midnight. The same night, she'd come home with tousled hair and perfume he didn't recognize, mumbling something about a red wine headache before disappearing into the shower. Caleb stood frozen in their walk-in closet, holding the receipt like it was radioactive. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He didn't even move for a full minute. He was in mergers and acquisitions. His life revolved around data, timelines, and leverage. And now he had data. The first thread, a timestamp, a trail. And Samantha didn't know yet that she'd just handed him a weapon. He took out his phone, snapped a photo, and returned the receipt exactly where he found it. She was in the shower again, steam wafting down the hall like everything was normal. Caleb sat on the edge of their bed, and stared at nothing. He remembered the signs. They always made sense in reverse. The new lingerie she never wore for him. The fitness classes that started twice a week and somehow became daily. The work trips that always extended by one night. The shift in her energy. The way she touched him out of habit. But her eyes stayed distant. He was 41. She was 37. They'd been married for 12 years. Build a life. Share bank accounts, vacations, passwords, trust. She'd taken all of that and fed it to someone else. But Caleb wasn't going to yell. He didn't want drama. He wanted precision. By the time Samantha stepped out of the shower wrapped in her white robe and asked, "Should we order Thai tonight?" he was already texting a name he hadn't used in years. Nick Travers, private investigations, ex-military, now specializing in infidelity, corporate espionage, and clean, quiet information gathering. Caleb, Nick, I need everything on my wife. Start with this hotel. Room 612. Wednesday, 8 p.m. She thinks she's clever. I want to be 3 steps ahead. Nick's reply came in seconds. You got it. Discretion guaranteed. That night, Caleb lay beside Samantha in bed. She curled into him like nothing was wrong. He didn't flinch. He kissed her forehead. She thought she was winning. She had no idea the countdown had started. It took Nick Travers less than 4 days to start delivering. He was ruthless, quiet, and extremely thorough. The kind of man who didn't just follow someone, he studied them like a pattern. Samantha Hartman wasn't just having an affair. She was living a second life. And the man in her second life, his name was Julian Rhodes, 35, investment analyst, tall, polished, single, the type of man who ran 5 miles before breakfast and thought morals were a choice, not a compass. He worked in the same downtown high-rise where Samantha's firm leased space on the 22nd floor. They weren't just co-workers. They were synchronized. The photo started small. Samantha and Julian leaving the garage together on a Tuesday. Their bodies too close to the valet pickup. Then lunch at places Caleb had never heard of. Samantha wore dresses Caleb had never seen. Her laughter, once soft and subtle, had become loud and performative. Then came the hotel again. Same as before. Same room. Nick sent the surveillance in a private encrypted folder. Same Wednesday schedule. Leaves work at 6:12. Walks around block. Julian pulls up 10 minutes later. They check in together. Exit 3 hours later. Laughing. Holding hands. No attempt to hide it. Caleb watched the footage in silence. His hand didn't tremble. He was beyond that now. His mind was like an architect sketching a demolition blueprint. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was systematic. He remembered Samantha saying she was staying late to mentor the junior staff. That was 2 Wednesdays ago. He remembered kissing her goodnight as she pretended to yawn. That was last week. And while Caleb pulled 12-hour days to secure a merger for his firm, Samantha was playing mistress in a hotel room paid for with their Amex card. Nick compiled the full timeline. Samantha's Jefferson account was being billed 18 hours a week, but she spent only 6 in meetings. The rest? Brunch with Julian, Pilates, hotel rooms, boutique shopping, and a weekend retreat in Monterey she'd claimed was just her and the girls. Julian had been there too, and Caleb had the receipts. He called Andrea Vega, one of the most feared family attorneys on the East Coast. Her office was on the 38th floor, overlooking the river. No photos, just certificates and a single quote framed behind her. Never go to war without knowing how to win. Caleb laid out the folder. Andrea read silently, flipping pages like a machine. Surveillance, credit statements, GPS pings, photos, time-stamped emails. She didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. When she looked up, she was smiling. This isn't a divorce case, Mr. Hartman. This is a blueprint for controlled annihilation. They spent 2 hours mapping the attack. Caleb's goal wasn't just to leave. It was to leave Samantha with nothing she hadn't earned, and everything she tried to steal. Andrea brought in a forensic accountant. Every dollar Samantha had spent on Julian, every spa visit, every dinner, every Uber XL ride, would be logged, labeled, and used as ammunition. Let her think she's safe, Andrea said. Cheaters become arrogant. That's when we strike. Back home, Samantha continued playing wife. She hummed while making breakfast, kissed his cheek before her morning calls, wore expensive perfume she claimed came from a vendor gift bag. And Caleb? He played along. She didn't know that her late nights were now fully mapped. She didn't know that the spa in Monterey sent invoices with detailed itemizations. She didn't know that Julian had a very active social media account, private but not to Nick, and that one post, one comment, could prove emotional attachment. She didn't know that while she slipped on red lipstick for someone else, her husband was already 4 moves ahead. On the following Wednesday, when Samantha left wearing her silk blouse and lied about a client dinner, Caleb texted Nick one line. Are they at Halston Suites? Nick replied in seconds. Arrived 7:11 p.m. room 912. Lights on. Confirmed visual. That night, Caleb didn't sleep. He sat in his office, watching the security feed from the hotel, routed discreetly through Nick's system. Samantha walked into the room smiling, her hair pulled back just the way Julian liked. She looked happy, not guilty, not conflicted, just gone. At 10:04 p.m., she texted Caleb. Running late. Sorry, love. Don't wait up. Caleb stared at the message for a full minute before replying. Of course. Be safe. He didn't want her to come home. He wanted her to dig her own grave a little deeper. 3 weeks later, she'd be served. In the middle of her lie. At the same hotel. With Julian in the next room. And she'd never see it coming. Caleb knew exactly when it had to happen. Timing wasn't just important. It was everything. The right moment wasn't about catching her red-handed. It was about collapsing the fantasy at its highest point. Samantha had just closed a big pitch at work. She came home beaming, falsely proud, and full of plans about taking a girl's weekend soon to decompress. Caleb kissed her temple, nodded at all the right places, and let her talk about aromatherapy and finally relaxing. She was setting the stage for another getaway with Julian. Perfect. Wednesday came. The usual pattern unfolded like clockwork. She wore the emerald dress, the one she once told Caleb was too bold for work dinners. She curled her hair, polished her nails, dabbed her favorite vanilla scent on her collarbone, the one she hadn't worn around Caleb in months. Big night, he asked casually, sipping coffee. Dinner with the Florida investor. Julian and I are meeting her at Halston Suites. She's picky. Caleb nodded. Text me if it runs late. She smiled, completely unaware she was walking into a controlled detonation. At 7:09 p.m., Nick sent confirmation. Room 912 again. They're inside. Caleb arrived at the Halston Suites at 7:52 p.m., dressed in the exact Navy suit Samantha once said made him look dangerously good. This time, it wasn't flattery. It was strategy. He rode the elevator silently, holding a manila envelope thicker than guilt. He stood in front of room 912 and listened. Laughter. Champagne cork. Something soft playing from a speaker. Jazz, or a playlist Julian, probably curated to feel impressive. Caleb waited 5 more minutes. Then knocked. There was a pause. Footsteps. The peephole darkened. Then came the voice he'd memorized long ago. Her voice. Who is it? He didn't answer. The chain rattled. The lock turned. The door cracked, open 6 inches. Samantha's face appeared, all blush and gloss and wine-drunk joy, until she recognized him. She froze. Her pupils dilated. She whispered, Caleb. Evening, he said, calm. We need to talk. Inside, Julian's voice drifted toward the door. Who is it, babe? Your husband, Caleb answered, loud enough for Julian to hear. The hallway went silent. Caleb held up the manila envelope and extended it through the gap. Divorce papers. Financial summary. Surveillance breakdown. Itemized infidelity ledger. And a friendly notice. My lawyer's very thorough. You should read page 4 first. Samantha stood there, frozen. Her hand trembled as she took the envelope. Behind her, Julian appeared shirtless, wrapped in a hotel towel, pale as a ghost. I can explain, Samantha stammered. You can try, Caleb said, but the photos don't lie. Julian stepped forward. Hey man, I didn't know. You knew, Caleb cut in sharp, and your name is all over the documentation. Congratulations. You're now part of a very expensive legal process. He turned to Samantha. 12 years. And this is what you gambled it for. She looked ready to cry. I made a mistake. No, Caleb said. You built a fantasy, and I just ended it. He turned, walked away, and let the door slowly close behind him. Her voice cracked behind him. Caleb, please. But the hallway swallowed her voice like a closing curtain on a failed performance. Samantha didn't come home that night. She showed up the next morning, mascara streaked, still in her emerald dress, holding the envelope like it was a bomb that hadn't finished going off. Caleb was already at the dining table, coffee brewed, reading the Wall Street Journal like it was just another Thursday. You read it? He asked without looking up. She sat across from him slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. You're giving me 15%? That's not fair. You used our accounts to fund your affair, he replied, still reading. I have receipts for $9,000 in hotels and dinners. You committed marital fraud. Legally, I'm being generous. Her voice cracked. I didn't think it would go this far. You didn't think I'd find out. Samantha reached across the table, desperate now. I never stopped loving you, Caleb. He looked at her for the first time. You don't cheat on people you love. You perform love for people you depend on. That's what you did. She pulled her hand back like she'd been burned. He stood. You have 30 days. Nick will help coordinate your exit. He's very organized. Like your timeline. Julian, he's not even answering me anymore, she admitted, voice hollow. Caleb nodded once. Of course not. He got what he wanted. You gave him that. What he didn't want was consequences. I did. She looked up, stunned. You planned this. I'll let you bury yourself. I just chose where to put the gravestone. He walked out of the room and left her there. Alone. Ashamed. And for the first time, fully aware of what she'd lost. The media didn't pick up the divorce, but the firm did. Julian Rhodes was reassigned to his satellite office in Denver within 10 days of being served. Internally, HR called it a mutual transition. In truth, it was damage control. The firm couldn't afford headlines. The whispers in the office, they were enough. As for Samantha, her role was quietly phased out. She was asked to step back during the review. Her email was locked within a week. Her keycard access, revoked. She'd built her entire professional identity over 12 years, and it unraveled faster than her marriage. Andrea Vega, true to her reputation, filed everything meticulously. She filed intentional marital misconduct, filed for asset reimbursement for every dollar Samantha spent on Julian, filed for emotional damages under grounds of deceptive intent, backed by forensic statements and surveillance, filed to exclude her from Caleb's pension and future assets, filed a restraining clause against her contacting Caleb during proceedings. Samantha's new lawyer looked exhausted during their first hearing. He asked for a 60-day extension, citing emotional trauma. Andrea handed the judge a copy of the spa invoice from Monterey. She didn't seem too traumatized here, she said coolly. Especially not during the aromatherapy massage for two. Paid with her husband's card. The judge said nothing, but he nodded. Caleb didn't gloat. He didn't need to. The law, for once, was on the side of the betrayed. Samantha moved into a one-bedroom rental in a less expensive part of the city. She sold her car, the Audi Caleb had leased for her, as a gift last Christmas, and traded it for a used sedan. The difference didn't just hurt her lifestyle. It hurt her pride. Julian never came back. He blocked her number, deleted their photos, and when subpoenaed during deposition, said calmly, "I didn't know she was married." Andrea slid over a screenshot. Julian paused, swallowed. "I didn't know she was married. That long," he corrected weakly. The room fell silent. Even Samantha's lawyer sighed. The final court session lasted exactly 37 minutes. The judge ruled in Caleb's favor on every front. Samantha was granted the 15% settlement Andrea had drafted months ago. No alimony, no benefits, no claim on any future real estate holdings. The clause Caleb insisted on stood firm. She shall not contact or approach the plaintiff for personal or financial reasons for a minimum of 5 years. She tried to speak. The judge waved her off. The gavel hit, and it was over. Back home, Caleb didn't celebrate. He returned to his minimalist loft, quiet, clean, deliberate, and poured a single glass of bourbon. 12 years. Destroyed in 12 weeks. And yet, he felt no grief. Only relief. He opened his phone. One new message. From Leah, a consultant he'd met at an industry roundtable a month earlier. They'd shared 2 long dinners. No pressure, just conversation. Her smile was honest. Her laugh never felt rehearsed. She asked him about his life, not what he could offer her. Her text was simple. "Still on for dinner tonight?" He typed back, "Absolutely. Looking forward to it." He didn't tell her about the final court session. She didn't need to know. Not yet. This chapter was closing. Not with rage, but with precision. And silence. And Samantha. She'd started over in a city that didn't know her. She got a job at a small PR agency 2 counties away, working under a woman 10 years younger. Her social media was deactivated. Her old friends stopped calling. And Caleb never spoke her name again. Because some people dig their own graves. And some men, like Caleb Hartman, hand him the shovel, then walk away. 6 months after the court papers were signed, Caleb Hartman stood in his downtown office, hands in his pockets, overlooking the skyline that once defined his ambition, and now, his peace. The city hadn't changed, but he had. There were no more late-night second guesses. No lingering scent of perfume on shared pillows. No half-truths lingering in conversations. He'd cleared every trace of Samantha from his world, and not out of anger. He simply no longer saw her as part of the narrative. She had become a memory with no weight. An echo. What remained was a man who had learned, not how to be hard, but how to be wise. He returned to the gym, not for revenge body theatrics, but for balance. He took a photography class on weekends. He even joined a cycling group, something Samantha always said was too suburban for their lifestyle. But the biggest shift wasn't in what he did. It was how he saw people. Trust now had to be earned, not assumed. Love had to be demonstrated, not performed. And silence? It was no longer a red flag. It was a sanctuary. He continued seeing Leah, cautiously at first, but it became clear quickly. She wasn't Samantha. She didn't play games. She never fished for praise or validation. She simply showed up. One night over dinner, she asked him gently, "Were you ever married?" He paused, took a sip of wine, then answered, "Yes, I was." She didn't press. She simply nodded and changed the subject. That night, as they walked together under the quiet rhythm of streetlights, he realized something. Not all endings come with fury. Some come with grace. Samantha, meanwhile, had faded from social circles. The job, the small PR firm? She lasted 4 months before resigning after a company-wide restructuring. She reached out once, through a mutual acquaintance. Just a message. "Tell him I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing. I hope he's okay." Caleb's reply, delivered through the same channel, was simple. "I am. And I wish her clarity. No hatred. No fire. Just a closing door." And he never looked back. A year to the day from when he found the receipt, Caleb stood on the balcony of his new home, a sleek condo overlooking the water. Not flashy, not cold, just intentional. Leah joined him with 2 mugs of coffee. The morning sun bled gold over the buildings. And for the first time in years, Caleb didn't feel the weight of betrayal or bitterness. He felt present, alive, free. Some people break you. Others remind you how to rebuild. But the most important journey is the one where you stop letting others define your worth and start writing the ending yourself.